Hello, and welcome to episode 227 of The Joy of Coding. Hello, how are you? It's dark in here. I'm going to see if turning on the lights improves things. I can't reach the light switch. Guess what? I'm in a new place. I'm in a new room. So the lighting's going to be all different and weird. Things might, like as per usual, things might go horribly wrong because all of the conditions have changed. But here we are. Thank you for bearing with me. I skipped an episode last week because of all the rejigging that needs to go on. But we're back. Let's see what we can do. Let's start hacking on Firefox and see where we get. Let me just quickly change my screen so you can see what I'm seeing. One moment. I've rearranged my monitors as well. There we go. Right, so today is September 30th. It's episode 227. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast, probably especially today because of, how different everything is. My internet might sort of fall apart at any moment. Who knows? But things hopefully will hold together, and if they don't, though, that's okay. This isn't like a high production value situation. We're just going to try and stumble through. It also goes for the work that we're going to be doing as well. Like I'm trying to capture software development in the raw, in its rawest form. So you're going to see me researching stuff, getting stuck, going down blind alleys. That is almost certainly going to happen. Maybe not in this episode, but in most episodes, that's what we capture is the actual process of solving problems, and it's not a clean one in my experience. It's sometimes a very messy process, so you'll get to see that. The other thing I want to mention is that the agenda that we're looking at is something that you have access to. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, well, interestingly, we're switching our Air Mozilla backend, so there's going to be like an Air Mozilla 3, and so I have no idea. If you're watching this in the future, I have no idea where the agenda is being stored, where the links are. But hopefully there's a links section. You can find the agenda. If you're somehow watching this on old Air Mozilla, it's in the handout section. If you're watching this on YouTube, I have not yet figured out the best way of putting the agenda in the description. I apologize for that, but I'll do it when I put the recording up. And for the folks in the Twitch chat, let me just quickly drop it in the Twitch chat. Hi, SmurfD. There's also an episode guide, which you should check out if you're watching this in the future and you wanted to know what we talked about today, or if you're watching this in the past, how is that happening? But you wanted to find out what happened in previous episodes. The episode guide is your friend. You can search it. You can clone it. You can send pull requests if you want to add your own addenda, your own stuff to it. I'm just realizing that the lighting in here is really poor. I'm going to try and turn on a light. And see if that helps. It might actually make things worse. My green screen effect might completely get wrecked. We'll see. One moment. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I don't think that's going to help much. It's a very low-level light, but I don't think it helped at all. We're just going to have to live with it. Maybe someday I'll decide to invest. Oh, maybe it helped a little bit. Maybe someday I'll decide to invest in a little bit of like professional lighting, but it is not this day. So what are we working on today? Well, I'm hoping to do a couple of things. We've got a really excellent pack of students from Michigan State working on improving the picture-in-picture feature. Maybe you're familiar with it, maybe you're not. But if you are, you may have noticed changes in Nightly if you're a Nightly user. Changes like if you're on Mac OS, the close button is now on the correct side, like the native side on the player window. And on Mac OS, the keyboard shortcut, there's now a keyboard shortcut for picture-in-picture. Other improvements include if you have the player window in the foreground and focused, if you use the keyboard shortcut, the player window will go away. We've made it so that the mute icon shows up more obviously in the tab whenever you're using picture-in-picture. And we're working on things like persisting the size and position of the player window between openings so that you don't have to keep moving it if you have a favorite place for it. Optional snapping of the player window. We're also trying to make it so that we're going to lay the infrastructure. This is kind of a longer duration project, but laying the infrastructure for making it possible to have the scrubber, the player like playtime counter, all of the controls that you'd really expect from a video player. We're going to try and lay the infrastructure for that. It's tricky. As I mentioned maybe in past episodes, one of the reasons why we didn't ship with that is because so many different sites, particularly the popular video streaming sites like Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, etc. If you try and manipulate the video element directly by, like, say you're trying to seek by setting the current time, this will break the video because they're doing some very complicated things under the hood, either because of DRM stuff or who knows. They've got their own API for distributing. I have no idea. But basically, you have to talk to a particular API that's like site specific to do seeking on those sites. And that's how their seek controls work. And in order for us to not break videos, we're going to have some kind of like adapter that works for these popular sites. And so laying the infrastructure for that adapter is something that these students are going to be looking at. And there's one last thing, a quality of life improvement that we want to try and implement, which is making it much harder to accidentally close the player window if the tab goes away. So one of the things you may have noticed, I'm going to pull up a picture-in-picture player window and show you what I'm talking about. Let's see if I go to YouTube. Let's look at the CGP Grey video. I'm going to pause it. Let's say I open up... Oh, and there's like the new toggle for picture-in-picture is now on nightly. That's the other thing. So I've got this player window, and it's playing right now some ad. But like if I decided I want to close this tab in the background, it closes the player window. And that's because the player window is bound to the lifetime of the tab right now, because the video element is where we're getting the frames from to show in the player window. And when that video element goes away because the tab has gone away, then the player window has to go away. So I was thinking about solutions for this, and we've talked about it on the UX side of things. One of the original ideas was, well, if you have picture-in-picture open in a tab, when you close that tab, instead of actually closing it, let's pin the tab. And that way we can also introduce the user to the feature of pinned tabs. That was one idea. The other idea was to hide the tab. The solution that I came up with a couple of days ago, and it's an idea, and that's what I'm hoping we can kind of investigate today, is to kind of create this little like hidden bucket, hidden zone within the player window where we can move the page into if the user closes the tab. It's kind of hard to explain, but I'll use an example. Whenever you drag a tab out of your window, what we do is we create a new window, and then we swap the tab into that new window. In the initial tab that gets opened in that new window, we swap them and then we close the original tab. That's how tab dragging works. So that swapping of what we call frame loaders is kind of, this is the big deal here, where we're holding on to the actual contents of the tab. We're moving. We're not reloading the page whenever you drag out. We just move it and we reflow it because, you know, the dimensions of the window might be different. And that's what I kind of want to do here, but instead of dragging the tab into a new window, we're going to use the swapping of frame loaders to drag the closed tab before we close it. We're gonna slurp out its frame loader and dump it into a special region in the player window that's not actually visible. And then it will be alive and bound to the player window. So, you know, the video should keep playing, and then if you close the player window, then the tab goes away. NamPNQ asks why we don't have request pip API same in Chrome. Oh, there's a little bit of dialogue here. I'll start with Smurfy. Notice today on YouTube and stable, one of the alternative rollover pip thing, not the older blue in the middle of the right part of the video on Mac. Yeah, that's right. We have a new toggle that we're working with to try and make it more obvious that this feature exists. You know, to try and make it clearer to people what it does. So there's probably still some refinement to do, but our measurements indicated that the current iteration was much clearer for people. So we're going to start with that, and then we'll probably refine it. So going back to NamPNQ's question, why we don't have request pip API same in Chrome? I'll refer you to actually a blog post where we talk about that. Blog, it's called how we built picture-in-picture. I wrote this back in January of this year. I'm going to drop this into the stream Twitch chat. I'm also going to put the blog post about how we built picture-in-picture into the agenda. But the long and the short of it is, we felt like this would be better as a completely user-controlled feature rather than something that the site acts as the intermediary for. Like, a site has to opt into using this feature. They have to, implement the behavior for calling into that request picture-in-picture API, which has not yet been standardized. I will point out, the picture-in-picture API is not a web standard. And so even though I think the Chromium-based browsers ship it, it's not a web standard. So the other reason for that is because the picture-in-picture API also makes it so that a site can tell you which videos you can't picture-in-picture. There's like a disable picture-in-picture attribute that they've defined that they can put on video elements. And there's a recent news article, you may have seen it, maybe you didn't. I pay attention a lot to picture-in-picture news. And YouTube Premium is currently advertising, you can use picture-in-picture on, I think it's iOS or something, only if you use YouTube Premium. And if you use just normal YouTube and you don't have Premium, then they abuse the picture-in-picture API because they know that you're using picture-in-picture. They abuse it to lock you out of that feature because they want you to pay for YouTube Premium. We desperately want to avoid sites offering up picture-in-picture as like some kind of premium feature when it should just be something that you, the user, should be able to do with your video. And that's why our approach to picture-in-picture is we don't even tell the sites that you're doing it. It's a power that we're giving you as the user that the sites don't have any control over. So that hopefully answers your question, NamPNQ. We're not saying that we won't ever implement the picture-in-picture API proposed web specification, but not right now. I'm not doing it right now. So hopefully that answers your question. So I want to prototype this this idea that we had about creating this. I'm going to call it the Phantom Zone, the Phantom Zone of the browser. And sorry, I also have I haven't done a build on my Ubuntu machine for a while, so I'm updating it. I'm going to have it run a build in the background. You're welcome, NamPNQ. NamPNQ said thank you. You are welcome. I like the question. If you have more questions, feel free. I'll do my best to answer them. But, thank you for your question. I hope, you feel like you can ask questions at any time. You can drop it in the Twitch chat. You can drop it in the live hacking channel. I'm not always paying attention to those things, but I will glance periodically. And if I miss your question, I'm sorry. Just, write it again and or try next time. So let's not just sit here waiting for that stuff to finish. Let us get to work. So what do I want to do? I think what I want to do is I'm going to start by updating Central and doing an artifact build. An artifact build is better, I think, because I don't want to have to do a full binary build. It will take too long. An artifact build allows me to just download the binary components and package all the non-binary components like the JavaScript and CSS and XHTML and all that business in the Zool. And so the build ends up being much faster. And while we're doing that, let's plan. Let's plan a little bit about how this thing is going to work. I've got so many files open in my editor. Let's start from a clean slate. I'm going to close all these. Close. Don't save. No. Don't save it. Don't do it. No. Don't save it. Don't. No. Okay, so we have all those gone now. We are going to let's see here. Let's look at player.xhtml. Inside player.xhtml, this is the markup for the player window, and there is a pre-existing Zool browser for the player, and I'm thinking of creating a separate one, like a hidden Zool browser. in this phantom zone. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it. I'm just gonna dump it here at the bottom. I'm gonna create a Zool browser. I'm gonna say it's gonna have 0 width and 0 height. It's basically gonna be completely invisible. And I'm gonna call it Phantom Zone. And it's not tabbable. And it's remote. And it will just sit there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the player CSS to hide this phantom zone browser. I don't want to display none it. We need it to actually be in the DOM in order for it to function, but I'm going to make sure that it is invisible. So the way I will do that is by saying visibility hidden. I'm also going to say that its height is 0 and its width is 0px. I think that should be enough. And like margin of 0, padding of 0. I think that'll work. Let's take a quick peek and see what that looks like. So I'm going to open up the browser toolbox to make it easier to inspect. We're going to open up this Netflix trailer. What is this? Who knows? But all right, we've got our player window here, and it looks normal. It looks right. Let's take a look and make sure we've got our phantom zone in here. Oh, we don't. I forgot to run mock build faster, so an invalid test. Mock build faster. And that's why we always test. All right, so let's see here. Let's go back to this. We're going to bring this up. I'm going to pause this. And we're going to inspect the player. Right now, the player looks like it's not, you know, we don't have this weird phantom zone appearing. Yeah, it's the 0 by 0 element. Okay, great. Now what I'm going to try and do is manually swap the frames. I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try it. Let me just double check the, like 0, swap browsers, swap dock shells, swap browsers, swap frame loaders. I'm trying to remember which one I want. Oh, we have this scroll bar here. That's a problem. I don't want that scroll bar there. Why is there a scroll bar there? Is it because I was inspecting the Zool browser? Hang on. Let me position it absolute too. Yeah, get it out of the flow of the document. Okay. Now swap, let me update that. Position absolute. Again, I'm just kind of experimenting. I don't actually know if this is going to work, and I don't know what all the edge cases are, but we're just going to try stuff out. Browser custom element. Swap frame loaders. Swap frame loaders. What? Where is that defined? Is it a WebIDL thing? Something defined on the, okay. Swap frame loaders with another frame loader. There's also swap browsers. What's swap browsers? Request comes from an XP complement. We don't want to redirect the request to tab browser. So tab browser will be set up correctly and will eventually call swap dock shells. So it's expected that if you swap browsers, you're doing it with from another browser window, and that's not what we have here. Swap dock shells. Other browser. We might want to use this, though. We might want to use swap doc shells, which is kind of like an antiquated way of doing this. Like that's an old school method. And the reason I say swap doc shells is because there's like a whole bunch of state we need to swap with it. And the reason we want to swap state like this is because there's also the case where suppose you want to undo the closing of the tab that you just closed. Well, in that case, instead of reloading it, we can slurp it out of the phantom zone and then swap it back. And so we need to make sure that any kind of state that exists in that tab we can resume properly, like we had just dragged a tab back to the original window. So that's why I'm thinking we should use swap doc shells. Okay. And the way it works is you pass in the other browser. Okay. So what do we have? Let's take a look at our browsers here. Swap. Recent browser. G browser. What do I want? Do I have a reference inside of player.js to the G browser? I don't think I do. Tab browser. Original browser. We don't. We have the window global parent, which is not enough. So I need to get access to the original browser window. I think we have this thing called picture in picture. Oh. Evil Pie says, I would look into how the web extension API works. Hides one or more tabs. Yeah, so we had considered this, Evil Pie. We had considered using hiding the tab. The problem if you hide the tab, though, is that it remains inside of the overflow. Like, explicitly, we will keep the list. We will keep the hidden tab, I think, in here. I think we want to avoid that. Although maybe it would be simpler. If we're willing to make that trade, maybe we could use that. I want to try the swap doc shell thing or swapping thing first. But you're right, it might be simpler to just hide and show the tab. Oh, the other thing about that, though, is if you close the window, then we'd have to deal with that. That was the issue. If you close the window, somehow we have to remember to either move that hidden tab somewhere else, or we have to, like, that's why we want to bind it to the lifetime of the player window, is in the event that you close the original window. If that makes sense. I'd forgotten that. Where was I? So picture in picture, this thing, I believe, has the originating tab. Browser? Yeah. I think this is the original. Yeah, this is the original tab browser. So I should be able to say swap doc shells. All right, let's first of all, let's get the browser again. What's 0? Okay, oh, wait, yeah, I want the phantom zone. So phantom, let phantom zone equal that. Phantom zone swap doc shells, and I'm going to pass in the browser. Here we go. Let's see what happens. So nothing happened. Oh, something did happen. It's just that we didn't refresh the visualization. Now, what if I hit play? It keeps going. It keeps going. Now, if I close this tab, how did that work? It went away. How did that work? There might be some stuff inside of picture-in-picture that's paying attention to the lifetime of the tab. Window unloads. Well, let's do that again. Let's do that experiment again. I like the experiment. But let's do it again. I'm seeing so many great YouTube or Netflix trailers. So good. We need, oh, sorry, we need our player window. All right, so let's redo some of this. Phantom Zone is right here. And picture-in-picture is there. Now I'm also going to set a breakpoint inside of picture-in-picture.jsm in the close pip window function. So we'll see how we entered there, I hope. And now let's do the swapping of the dock shells. The swapping of the dock shells. Okay, now I'm going to close the originating tab and see what happens. Okay, we've hit our breakpoint. Now, why do we get here? We received a message that the tab went away. What? Oh. Oh, wait a second. That doesn't make any sense. Why would we still fire page hide? So we're receiving a message. The message is... hang on. We received a message. The message was picture-in-picture dash colon close. So we got that from picture-in-picture child.jsm. And we get that if page hide. So the page hide event happens here. So we saw the page hide event. The originating video's content document has unloaded. So close picture-in-picture. Let us temporarily comment that out. I mean, we still need to figure out why we're hitting that, but I want to see actual, like, I want to see some progress. I want, like, Joy of Coding coming to Netflix soon, asks Smurf D. Oh, wait, Smurf D also asks, so you mean you should be able to have just a pip window open and everything else closed? Yes. Yes. I mean, ideally, you'd still have your other browser windows open, because, like, I don't know how else you could keep surfing the internet, but, maybe. Okay, let's see here. Because, like, maybe if we gave the normal menu, like we do for the About dialog to the player window, that might be useful. Okay. So what we're going to do is the same thing as before. We're going to choose the Phantom Zone. And that should have made that go away. We're going to keep playing this video now Now I'm going to close the original tab. And then the video stops. The video has gone away. We cannot control the video anymore. It has gone away. So I don't think the swapping is actually working. That's my suspicion. I thought it was working because we weren't seeing the contents anymore after we reloaded. But let's step through the swapping. And maybe we can figure out what's going on here. So many Netflix trailers. Joy of Coding. Yes, let's get you on Netflix, Joy of Coding. I'm sure the Netflix people are imminently reaching out to me. Okay. So let's set a breakpoint. Browser custom element in swap doc shells. And we'll see what happens when we do this. So let's set the breakpoint again. Or not the breakpoint. Let's do all this console stuff. Okay. We're going to step through. We fire that swap doc shells event. We dispatch it. And then we're going to swap a bunch of fields. All right, I'm going to skip past that. And then we call swap frame loaders. So we've actually swapped the frame loaders apparently. So I don't know what the dealio is. The frame loader swap has occurred. So that worked properly. What happens if we let's look at our phantom zone. Let's take a look at this fella. There it is, but there's nothing inside it. I got a feeling that swap did not go well. The swapping of the frame loaders. So maybe we should take a look and see how the swapping of frame loaders works elsewhere. Or the swap doc shells. So when we drag a tab out, for example, I think there's and close other. Swap browsers and close other. It's in adopting a tab. Get tab to adopt. So yeah, we'll have to deal with this. User context IDs. Swap browser doc shells. Maybe I want to use this. What happens if we swap it back? Let me just see what happens if I swap it back. Let's look at our so it doesn't come back. browsers. All right, let's try this again. Let's get rid of our breakpoints. Interestingly, like, we can't get any content to appear here now. So I wonder if instead of it swapping, it's just hiding it somehow. Okay. So instead of doing swap doc shells, let's try the swap browser doc shells. Oh, that's on the tab browser. Oh, man. Well, maybe on the let tab browser equals picture in picture dot browser dot owner global. Oh, get tab browser. I think we just do this. Okay, tab browser dot swap browser doc shells. And then we're gonna say our tab and then other browser. So g tab browser dot selected tab phantom zone. What has happened? Nothing has happened. Oh, there it goes away again. Now while we're here, let's inspect that browser. Can we? Come on, come on, come on, come on. Browser. There's one. Yeah. Where are you? Highlight. Go to. Where are you in here? Come on, man. Oh, I guess here it is. App content, notification box, browser stack, browser. Here we go. Document. It looks to me like this is not the browser we want. This, however, might be. What's it pointed at? About blank. Yeah, okay. So it is now pointed at about blank. Somewhere this document exists. Like, where is this document now? Let's go back to our phantom zone. Current URI spec. So it thinks it's there. Let's take a look at our phantom zone browser. It's all just black. Where is the site? It thinks it's in there. What else do we have? Let's see. Can I get the current window global or browsing context? current window global. Oh, global. It thinks it's in 17465, so 17465. Ah, that's not right. So Phantom Zone is in the wrong process. I wonder if that's the issue. I have to make sure that... Is there anything that has to make sure that the initial Phantom Zone browser is in the same content process before I do the swap? Whenever we drag a tab out, oh, initial browsing context group ID. I'll bet you that's it. What is this used for? Browsing, original browsing context group, initial browsing context group ID. What? So this is, hold on. SEP initial browser and tab not used. Oh, here. It's used here when we create the browser. Aha. I got a feeling that's what's happening. If we are setting up the initial browser, we say not blank. Because if we're adopting a tab, we make sure that the remote type and the initial browsing context group ID are the same, and the user context ID is the same. And then there's open window info. Don't have that. And then there's this create browser method. I don't think I can just like create the browser using this stuff, can I? Maybe I can. And then clone it. Oh man. Okay, I have an idea. Let's try something. So we're gonna close this. Oh, no, don't run that. We're gonna close this tab. Okay, that was expected. That went away. We're gonna create a new Phantom. And the way we're gonna do it is we're going to open this up. This is why we scout. Like, I'm just testing ideas out. Oh wait, I already had the toolbox open, sorry. This is why we're scouting around. Looking for potential issues. So this Phantom Zone browser is not what I want to do. I'm going to actually get rid of this. Remove. And instead, I'm going to get at the picture-in-picture browser tab browser. And then I'm going to say tab browser.create browser. Call it like let Phantom orig Phantom, because I have to like, I don't think I can just bind, can't insert it into this DOM. I'm gonna have to like clone it, I think. We'll see. Orig Phantom equals create browser, and then I'm gonna pass in all these arguments. What are the arguments? No. initial browsing context group ID. Group ID. Adopt tab. This is so complicated. Okay, so let's get the remote type. Let's start by getting the remote type, actually. Let remote type equal picture in picture. Let's also orig browser equals picture in picture dot browser. I'm gonna say orig let remote type equals orig browser dot remote type. Let initial browsing context group ID equal orig browser dot browsing context dot group dot ID. 44. And then we're gonna say tab browser let orig phantom equals tab browser dot create browser URI is about blank false. So I'm just gonna wholesale copy this. User context ID will be 0. User context ID 0. I think that's the default if we don't have one set. User context ID. Or I can just pass in null, I guess, or undefined. And then initial browsing context group ID, remote type. Okay, so we have this browser. Now, can I just insert this into the DOM? I doubt it, but let's find out. Document body, append child, orig phantom. Oh. Okay. Now, it's not without complete disaster here, but okay. Delay connected callback is not a function. All right. And now I'm going to say browser, orig browser dot swap doc shells orig phantom. Now let's keep an eye on what's going on over here. Can only swap doc shells between browsers in the same process. So orig phantom, which process? Browsing context dot current window global. It's in process 17413 and orig browser. Hopefully you can see this. I'm typing stuff right at the bottom. Yeah. Orig browser dot browsing context current window. Nope. Current window global. 17413. They should be in the same process. Content parent ID, outer window IDs are different, but it's complaining that they're not in the same process on line 1594. And how is it checking that? It's checking that by making sure that they're both remote. Orig browser dot is remote browser. And phantom browser, orig phantom is remote browser is undefined. Okay, so orig phantom, we're going to remove orig phantom dot set attribute remote true, or document dot body append child orig phantom, put it back in the DOM. And now let's try and swap them. What? Orig browser dot is remote browser. True. Orig phantom is remote browser. Undefined. What? Orig phantom. You are a browser. Why is oh. Is this related to the fact that the constructor failed, I think, whenever it... Did you notice that when I inserted it into the DOM, there was like this failure? Can't access property this, and then like delay in the connected callback. Delay connected callback is not a function. 293. We typically use this to avoid running JS triggers, blah, 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 to avoid a leak. So where is this from? What is delay connected callback from? That is something that customelements.js defines. I have a feeling we need to define... Wait. Delayed collected callback. Why is that an issue now? We insert a browser inside of picture-in-picture's player.js here without issue. Let's take a look at it. They're both type content. They're both type primary, remote, remote type, phantom zone. All right, I'm gonna try something different. I use the tab browser to generate that thing. I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna start again. We're gonna open up this fella. I'm gonna get at the Phantom browser. And I'm gonna use the same technique that the player.js stuff uses to phantom equals phantom.remove. So we're gonna remove it from the DOM. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set the attribute no default source to true. We're going to set its remote type. Phantom.set attribute remote type is going to be picture-in-picture.browser.current browsing context dot current window global dot dom process dot remote type. What a mouthful. And then we're going to set attribute initial browsing context group ID to be picture in picture. I'm running out of real estate here. Hang on. Picture-in-picture dot browser dot browsing context dot current window global dot oh, I just want browsing content window browsing context dot group dot ID. And now we're going to re-append it to the document. Document body append child phantom. Okay. So now, hopefully, picture-in-picture dot browser dot browsing context dot current window global, and phantom dot browsing context dot current window global. They are both in the same process. They have different outer window IDs. That's expected. Let's make sure that they are both remote. So phantom.is remote browser, true. Picture-in-picture browser is remote browser. Of course, that will be true. Now let's try and swap them. Swap doc shells. Phantom. Okay. So we've got this tab still open over here. We've got this video still playing. Let's see if we can take a quick peek inside the player window and see if that browser actually has anything in it, that phantom browser. Right here. It's right here, but I don't see anything in it. I'll bet you I don't think it happened successfully. If I close this, I'll bet you the player window is going to close. Yeah. What's going wrong? What's going wrong? What's going wrong? I think I'm on the right track, though. Frame loader. In the success case, we would see the contents of that YouTube page show up in that little box. That's the success scenario, rather. Let's try something else. I'm going to try something else. Let's pull this up. So we know that these two are running the same process now. What happens if we swap the browsers here and here? What happens then? So browser, that will be this thing, right? Not the Phantom Zone browser, but this thing. Swap doc shells picture in picture dot browser. So that goes away. This goes away. What do you need in order for it to reappear again? And then if this closes, that closes. So what's the magic that I'm missing for this swapping? Is there some kind of preparation work? Let's take a look inside of tabbrowser.js. Whenever we say drag end, what? And tab, browser tabs. Okay, on drag end. Come on, there we go. Check if tab detaching is allowed. What we do is we replace tabs with window. what you do, we'll call replace tab with window. So you open up a new window, and then you pass in the tabs the argument. Otherwise, you don't. There's nothing else really of note here. It's on the other side of the equation when we set up the initial browser and tab. We initialize. We get the user context ID. Create the browser. At what point do we close other? And adopted by tab. This is in removing a tab. When we adopt tab, who calls adopt tab? So replace tab with window. Who else calls adopt tab? Here we go. 2 places, 3 places. This is whenever you over here when we drop. Here. Okay, swap the drop tab with the new one we create and then close it in the other window. Sure. If not, create lazy browser. Then we stop. We make sure it has a dock shell. Really? That doesn't make any sense because it's a remote tab. And then we swap browsers and close other. And what that means is you do all these checks. Make sure they're the same. If they're not fission. Okay. Make sure that the user context ID is set up. Tear down the other browser. Make sure you're not fired that before unload event in the process. Close the other window if this was the last tab. You're adopting a tab. Hide the window immediately without animation. Otherwise, we enter here and we swap the dock shells, passing in state flags. What are state flags? It's the tab listener's state flags. Okay. And then this is all about tearing down the tab that's going away. the way the swap browser doc shells works is we need to insert the browser if it hasn't been already. We unhook the progress listener. Could you not do some breakpoints when you make that swap that worked to see what steps it takes? Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm doing mentally right now. Is like I'm we're going through the code that does the tab dragging out. Trying to think what the best experiment is here. Okay, let's see for a second what happens if I do this. Oh, this is one of those dog greeting videos. Those are so heart-wrenching. Okay, so we are going back to our player. We're gonna get our phantom zone. We're gonna do all this stuff. Well, I'm not gonna do that part. I'm gonna do this part. Oh, phantom's not defined. Sorry, phantom. And then we've made sure the remote type, and then we're gonna make sure that the initial browsing context group ID is such and such, is remote browser, should be true. Okay, so phantom, we're gonna put it back inside. And now let's show it. Let's send it somewhere. First of all, is render layers. So it is supposed to be painting. Phantom.load URI. Can I do that? Can I send it somewhere? Or phantom dot. Actually, what I'll do, phantom dot remove. I'm gonna put this source attribute on it. Phantom set attribute source. So we're gonna send it to the same page. Body append child phantom. Okay, so we can load the site in here. We can send it somewhere. So now we've got ourselves the situation where we've got a browser that's got a site loaded in it. Let's see if we can swap them now. So phantom swap browsers, swap doc shells rather. Picture in picture dot browser. Now it's just gone away. And this one has also gone away. Phantom.render layers, true. Let's say false and then true again. Start painting? No? They just stop painting. They stop presenting. Phantom.is doc shell is active. False. True. Set to true. Doc shell is active. And now say render layers true. Come on, show up. Where are you? Damn it. Okay, so we can load a site inside that that phantom browser, we can load the same URI. In theory, this should work. What happens if instead of using swap doc shells, we use swap frame loader? Let's use swap frame loader. So let's go right down to the bottom. Let's use the same technique as before. If this doesn't work, I'm going to start writing stuff down, but I'm probably going to end the stream there. Not very successfully, but hey, you know, sometimes that's what happens. All right, pause. We're going to find the player window, phantom zone, all that stuff that I did before. I should probably have just made this like a command, like a single command, but set attribute, initial browser. Okay. So now I will put it back in the DOM. Oh, I'm going to send it somewhere too. We're going to send it to the same URI as before. And then we're going to say document body append child phantom. And then we're going to show it. So here it is. We got our little German Shepherd greeting. Okay. So now I'm going to try swapping the frame loaders instead. Document, body, no. Phantom swap frame loaders with picture-in-picture dot browser. It just goes away. That's the, so what's the dealio? And then it doesn't last a lifetime. So something in swap frame loaders is not working correctly. It's just falling over. It's not returning a it's not throwing an exception. Should have entered here. Let's do one last thing. I'm going to do a debug build. See if there's anything that shows up. Oh, wait. Smurf D says, I think on the other page you had something that said, or do nothing. Or do nothing. Where was that? Do nothing. Sorry, I missed it. Where would it have been? Or do nothing. Where did you see it? Do nothing. Too many places where we say do nothing. I don't know. I don't know where you saw that, Smurf D. when you search for swap frame loader. Swap frame loader. Whoop. Oh, sorry. Don't filter on that. And then what I did, I went over here. Nothing to do. Is this what you meant? That's if you are the same thing. If you're trying to swap with yourself, I think it will fail. Okay. All right, let's just see if we can get any kind of like errors logged with this experimentation. Let's see. Oh man, I'm gonna have to, so because this is a different profile, I'm not gonna have any of the console history. So that's kind of a bummer, but we do what you can. Browser toolbox. Okay, player window, Phantom zone. Okay. Console here. Let Phantom equals that. Phantom dot remove. We're going to set the attribute remote type to be the same as the picture in picture dot browser dot browsing context dot current is it remote current window global remote type. Is that what it is? Current window global browsing context dot what is it in player.js DOM process current window global DOM process remote type. Okay, and then we're gonna set the oh boy initial browsing context group ID to be picture in picture dot browser dot current browsing context dot group dot ID, and then we're also going to set the source to be, I'm going to set it to be this actual site so that we know that this thing has actually loaded stuff. And then document body append child Phantom. And now let's reveal the Phantom. Doop, 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 doop. So here it is. Okay. Now, let us create a little bit of space here. We're going to hopefully be able to see some logs when I go picture in picture, browser, swap, doc shells. Or I'm going to do a simpler, swap frame loaders, and then Phantom. Okay, I'm going to press enter in just a sec. Error not implemented. What? Swap. Is that the problem? Phantom. That error not implemented. What was that? Is that related? That was new. I hadn't seen that before. Error not implemented. I wonder if this is it. So error not implemented is fired by swap frame loaders when. This is the only case it looks like. If the other loader owner, if there is no other loader owner. Okay, I'm gonna have to walk through this, but I don't think I can do it now. And maybe I need to start talking to some DOM people. This is very confusing. I don't know what's going wrong, but I feel like in theory we are onto something. We can load documents inside those little zones, inside the little phantom zone. So in theory this should work because tab dragging and dropping works. So hopefully we'll have a solution for this in the short term, and then you'll be able to close those tabs. We have to, at that point, we have to detect the closing of the tab, which isn't so hard. We do that for other things. And then we'll do the swap, allow the tab to close, and Bob's your uncle. Then we'll have to worry about the tab restoration issue. You know, if you ask session history to bring back that tab, then we have to swap it back out, and that's a special case. But I think this is the hardest part, is figuring out the swap. I think I'm going to call it here. Hey, thank you so much for watching episode 227 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was interesting. It wasn't too successful, but we were able to make some inroads, I think. We were able to prove some things are possible. Maybe by next week we'll have more information. Thank you so much for watching. Next week I will be back. I should be back. Let me know what you thought. There's a rate this episode form right here. I read all of the feedback that comes in. It helps me to make sure that the stream serves you best. So do let me know. Do fill out the form. And I will talk to you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Nope. See ya.